is you have to realize that God is after something much bigger. He's always after something bigger. And half the time we have no clue what's going on. So the way we live in the moment, we may not realize that, hey, he's putting some things in place that's going to completely change a culture right down the road here if we'll just stay in what God wants. Because he's usually after something bigger. And what he tells us right here, he points back to Jesus. Peter points back to Jesus, and he says, Jesus, remember he tells us in the first chapter that Jesus has been the king of the universe for all eternity. That he was before the world was created, and he's coming back to judge the world. He's going to step back in time in judgment of the world at some point, but he is beyond it. He's bigger than. He is the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. He has been for all of eternity, even though we didn't recognize him. But what he chose to do was he chose to become a servant and to be treated in a way that was not good because he was after something bigger. And so he's talking to this group of people who are in slavery, and he's saying, listen, you got to understand something. Jesus went through the same thing. And what it resulted in was it resulted in the salvation of the entire earth for all who will believe. Could they see this at the time? No. Could the disciples see this at the time? No. Did they get the bigger picture? No. Did they understand during the first century when they're being martyred that by the very blood of the martyred saints, the church would be built to become 2.5 billion people on the face of the earth? They didn't know any of that. They just knew that God was God and that he was going to do what he was going to do. And sometimes we don't know what all's going on. We don't know. We can't see the beginning from the end. We're not in the position of God. And that's what he wants us to understand, is that, look, there are times you may not understand all that's going on here. There are times things might frustrate you. There are times that people in leadership might frustrate you. There are times people in authority might frustrate you. There are times that people might do things that are ungodly and that are unjust and all this sort of stuff. But I will tell you, if you will stay in your heart, if you will keep in your heart that God will do something much bigger out of this situation than I could have thought or imagined, it will do you well. It will do you well.